A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. I welcome you all to my channel. My name is Chandan, and I thank you for sparing some time out of your life for my channel. So, the topic for today is how does TestNG runs test without a main method? Well, this has always been a question in my head that how does it runs it without having a main method? I have never seen a main method in any of the project that I have used, or if in any of the scripts that I have coded using TestNG. So, so, and I've always been taught that JVM needs a main method to execute your commands, right? You have a method. You should have a main method which will be the entry point for your JVM to start the execution. So question came. I did some research and I read some forums, some blogs. I was not very satisfied, but then I thought that no, I have to search. I have to execute some test and see, debug it, and see how it works. So and finally, I got the answer. I was very happy, and I thought that I should share it with everyone, to all the subscriber I have. So let's start with today's discussion. So this video would be a continuation of the video that I posted in the morning. They are very much related, but yes, if you understand TestNG well, you can take it up from this video itself. But I would still encourage you to watch the last video. I'll share the link. I'll add the link in the description box. I'll encourage you to watch that video first and then watch this video, because it will help you to understand this video in a much better way, because I will be referencing the project that I used in the last video, as well as the things that we executed or how we executed in this video. So let's quickly start. So in the morning, what we did was we executed our test. Let me open this. Okay, so this was my project, Sunday project, and this was my class file. This has TestNG annotation, and I converted this project to TestNG, and which created me TestNG XML. If you see the content of TestNG XML, we have some default values that populated, and this is the only class that is in this class. Okay, and we have two test method here. So if I quickly run this, if I run this TestNG XML file, run as TestNG, this will print me two line of code, two line of two strings. I am in test method 1, I'm in test method 2. Okay, so what we did was in the morning we executed this using our command prompt. Okay, so I'll just show you what we did. So this is the topic. I'll just go to the first one. So this is what I explained. How do we run a TestNG file? How do we execute our test, which is a part of TestNG XML, using command line. So in the command line, in the command prompt, this is all you have to do. You have to go to the project. You have to open the command prompt in the project file folder. Okay, and then you have to execute this command. So Java, and then you have to set the class path. The class path is and the two class path. The first one and the second one separated by semicolon. The first class, the path is the project class path, that is the bin folder of your class, of your project. And then this is where your libraries are. So you'll need two libraries. One is the J commander, another is the TestNG libraries jar. Okay, so if you are not able to follow this, then I will still encourage you to go back to the first video and watch it. Come back to this, you'll understand. And then this is the package, the class, the package that we are passing in the command line, org.testng.testng, and this is the class that we are using. And within this class, we are passing the name of our XML file. So right now, our project is within the project, we have this TestNG XML file. So we are passing this as a part of our command line argument in the command prompt to execute. So let me go back to this. So if you notice this command, okay, So these are fine. We are setting up the class path. And then what we are doing is we are taking the package, and within that package, we are utilizing class, this class, and this is taking an argument as my suite XML. Okay, the XML where I have the test suite. So then I thought that if I'm able to run this, okay, when I'm running this command using command prompt, it is actually executing my test. It is, it is printing the two statement that I just showed you. So then I thought, okay, so this looks like the thing which is actually executing the test. So what I thought is, let me go and check what we have in TestNG class. Okay, so I hope it has made sense to you so far. Okay, so this is the class TestNG, and this is the, sorry, yep, this is the class, and this is what we are passing as an argument. So my suit XML file is the argument that I'm passing to the class. And similarly, if I want to run a class, okay, I'm doing the same thing, and this time I'm passing this argument, that is my class name, to the same class, that is TestNG. Okay, if I want to run a class that is this class, not using TestNG XML file, but I'm using test class as an argument and passing it to the TestNG class. So it, it does the same thing. It is executing my test. It is printing the two statement again as an output in the command prompt. Okay, so this is again an argument which is passed. Sorry, so sorry. I'm trying to highlight and it is taking me to the second one, but that's okay. So I hope you're focusing on my cursor. So this is the argument and this is the class. So this class is taking this argument. And then if you want to run just a method, okay, a test within a class, then you have to pass the method. So if you see the class name and the method that you want to execute, that is what you are passing as an argument to this class again. Now, if you remember from your old days when you write a Java console program, okay, and you run it using command prompt, what we used to do is we used to give the name, type the name of the class, and then the argument that we want to use, with the class, okay, with the argument that the main method takes. Okay, we supply that argument and with the name of the class. So similarly, it is the same thing. So this is the class and this is the argument that we are passing to TestNG. So you would wonder that if we are passing the argument to this class, TestNG class, that means this class has something which is using this argument. Okay, so we are going to check what is the thing that is taking this argument. Okay, so we are going to explore TestNG class. Okay, so let me quickly open our Eclipse. And before I jump into TestNG class, I want to show you something as well, so that which will prove my point. So this is my class where we have two methods, public methods, and with at the test annotation. And we all know that this is being run using the TestNG library. Okay, so when I go to this class and okay, let's start with this one, TestNG XML, because this is generally what we run. So let's go to run as, and this is how we execute. Okay, but this is how we run our TestNG XML file. So let me go and check the run configuration. So when this is loaded, if you see within TestNG, these are the different classes that I have used to execute my test. But this is the project file. Okay, this is the project within which I have a TestNG file, and this is what I'm trying to execute. So if you see this interface, we have the project TestNG, and we are passing this TestNG XML. This is the complete path of this XML as a suite to. Who are we passing it to? We are passing it to TestNG. Okay, so that means this is an argument which is being passed to TestNG, and TestNG is nothing but the class. Okay, so let me just close it, and let's go to TestNG. So in order to go to TestNG, we can just let me just type it here, TestNG, because it is not I mean, it is, the source code is not a part of my project, so I have to use it. TestNG, I'm sorry, so sorry. TestNG, let me go make the reference variable is test equals to new, sorry, test g, and there you go. Okay, now in order to get rid of this message, I have to import TestNG. So I've imported TestNG successfully. Now we can go and scan the code of TestNG. So I hope things are clear so far. We have just found out that TestNG is the class which is accepting an argument, and this argument can be my XML file, it can be my class, it can be just a method. Okay, but the common between these three, I mean, XML, this method, and this class is TestNG. So we have to go and check what we have in TestNG. So I've added this line as a part of my method just to, access the source code of the TestNG. So let me just go to TestNG. Okay, I'm clicking on this and I can either press F3 or we can just go to open declaration. Okay, so let's go there. And I have TestNG class opened here. Okay, cool. Now, the second thing which comes to our head is we have to look out whether we have main method in this class. Okay, so because we all know that if there is something which is accepting an argument to execute something, it has to have a main method. So I'll just hit Control F and I'll type in main. Sorry. Hit main. Now this is not the main class, and this is just a comment. And there you go. You can find that we have a public static void main string arguments. So this is what the JVM looks out. And if you see, it is clearly written here, the TestNG entry point for command line execution. Okay, where this argv is the command line parameters. Okay, and these command lines are nothing but the command line that we saw here, that methods and then the class method name. Or if you're running a class, then under hyphen test class name. Okay, and this is accepted by test class. Similarly for TestNG, this is the argument that we are passing to TestNG. So that means the TestNG has a main class which is taking this as an argument. Okay, so let's go back to the code. Okay, now this I hope this is clear. We found the entry point and we found the main class of the TestNG. So next time when you are trying to execute your test case and someone asks you that, hey, tell me where is the main class? How are we able to execute it using TestNG without a main class? You know where to go and explain the person. Okay. So we are in the main method. Okay. And sorry if I have said main class, I'm so sorry for that. It's actually main method. So we are in the main method, and this is the two line of code which is doing the wonder, which is taking care of everything that we see with our execution, be it the other order of execution, be it the parallel execution, be it setting up the thread count, or be it having multiple test ng suite, multiple test, or you might have listeners. Okay, so generally we do configure them uh, in our TestNG XML file. Okay, so I'll just quickly come here and see. If you see everything here, suit name, suit thread count, name, these values, they all have a meaning. Okay, they all have a meaning for TestNG. It uses each of these keys and then it configures it and then it executes the test based on the values that we have in this TestNG XML file. Okay, so let's go to TestNG back again. And if you see that within this main class, we have only two line of code, which is driving the test, which is generating the report for us, which is respecting the listeners that we have. Okay, so we and I have seen a blog, 2 to 3 blogs where people mention that yes, it has main class and this is what it is doing, but they haven't explained what it is doing, what exactly, how exactly does it execute my test. So I thought I should not wait here. This 2 line of code doesn't is not sufficient for me to understand. So I thought to explore more, to scan more, and debug more. So if you see, it has just created a reference variable of the TestNG class, and this is the object. And this is the method, I'm sorry, this is the method which is returning an object type of TestNG. So let's go and check. Okay, and right after that, it is exiting, the system is exiting with this status. So let's go and check what we have in private main. So if I highlight this, this is the main, private main. So this is actually the main method which is actually executing every test and doing all sort of things that is expected out of that project. So in this, you can see it is accepting two variables. I'm sorry, two arguments. One is the argv, that is the arguments that we are passing. The argument is nothing but the testng xml file, okay, or the class name or the method name. And then it is also accepting listeners. And let's see what is happening next. Okay, so we are in this method, and it is creating you know a new object of TestNG, and it is just checking if the listener is not null, then it will pick up that listener and it will add to the reference variable of the TestNG. Okay, so the journey begins from here. So we have taken up the listeners. For this TestNG XML, we haven't used listener because I wanted to keep it very simple. Okay, so say for example, we have a listener, and this has taken up the listener into consideration, and then what we are doing is we are parsing the argument. Okay, and then we are parsing the argument. How are we parsing the argument? So if you remember in the last video, I used only two DLLs, I'm sorry, two jars. One is the TestNG jars, another is the J commander jar. Okay, so let me quickly show you that jar here. Mm, so these are the two jars that we generally use for to execute our TestNG test. This is the J commander and this is the actual TestNG. So if we need to execute TestNG, these are the only two jars that we need in our project. Okay, so that J commander is from that particular jar. Okay, so let's see how it is parsing. Okay, the first of all, it parsed the arguments. Okay, that is read the values in the test.ng XML file, and then it runs. Okay, and then finally it gives you the result of that execution. So let's see how it is parsing. So within this parse, we have this command line argument CLA command line. And this is actually a class. So if I quickly give you an, you know, let's just open up the declaration of this. So this is a class. Now, if you see here, you'll find all those keywords that you find in XML file, verbose, okay, groups, exclude groups, and then we have, I'm just searching for the known ones. We have listeners, okay, and then we have parallel, okay, and then we have thread count, we have suite name, then we have test name, we have reporter as well, okay, test class, test name. So these are all the strings that we find in in our suite testng XML file. Okay, there are many more. We find port, we find host, we find methods, and these are the ones which we generally use there. So this is the class where you find those strings there, and it is creating an object of command line argument, and we are passing it to the J commander. Now, this J commander is the class which actually parse the arguments that we have in the class. I'm sorry, the suite file. Okay, so we can see that the CLA is accepted as an argument for this. Okay, and then it parses. What is it parsing? It is parsing the argument that we have provided from our project. Okay, and the argument is nothing but the testng XML file. Okay, generally we don't go with running just one class, but we generally provide the entire suite to run, that is the XML file. Okay, so now this class is parsing that. Okay, and if I just show you what it does is it takes, okay, maybe I should open up the commander and show you what it is doing. So here we are, and then we are calling this parse. Okay, so it is going to the overloaded method, which is this one. Okay, it is using string builder parsing and then appending string join append. So it is what it is doing. It is taking each of the node and taking appending it together and with a comma separated. So I have gone through the code in detail, but I'm just going to tell you on a very high level that if we have multiple classes, then what it will do is it will take up all the classes in one as one string, and they will be separated as comma. Okay, and I'll show you where they are split again to read. Okay, so this is done, and then they are going to it is going to initialize the default values, and then we are parsing the values. If you see, this is the still the arguments that we have from our the main class. And then it is validating as well whether the file is correct or not, whether the values are right or not. And if it says yes, we have to validate, then we are validating options as well. So this is the validation, and what it does is it makes sure all the required parameters have received a value. So whatever the needed parameters, they have received a value. Okay, so this is what it is doing. So coming back to the main method, I'm sorry, here. Okay, so the parsing is done, all the values are read. Okay, and then we are again we have this method validate command line parameters. So if we go to command line parameters, okay, it is going to validate whether all the values we have are correct or not. See, it is saying double check the command line parameters are valid. Okay, if you see, just a minute, I'm so sorry. All right. Okay. So what it does is it double check the command line parameters are valid or not. So it will come here and just look. We are going to see what it does. So it is taking a test class. Okay, it is reading the test classes that we have in the test suite, and then it is going to read. It is taking the suite files, taking it in a list. Okay, and then we have this jar. Then command line, it is again being taken. The methods are taken in list string, and then it is checking because we are validating here. So we have lots of if and else condition. If methods that if test classes is null, test jar is null, TestNG is null, everything is null, then you may have come across this message while you're trying to run your project. Okay, and if these conditions are fulfilled, then you're going to get this message as a part of an exception. Okay, you need to specify at least one TestNG XML file, one class, or one method. Okay, I remember encountering this, coming across this once. What I was doing is I was using my command prompt to execute my test, and what I did was within that the syntax that we have, that the command that we have, where we are setting the class file, and then you are specifying the TestNG class, and then you are passing the argument. So what I did was I will just quickly show you in order to make it understandable. Sorry. Yep. So this is the command that I used to execute my TestNG file. So right after typing all this till here, TestNG class, I hit enter. Okay. So that means I did not pass my XML. Okay. There was no argument. So when there was no argument, it gave me that error. So it does make sense that you don't have any class, you don't have any jar, you don't have any nothing is there. You don't have a method. Okay, everything is empty, null or empty. Then you're going to see this message, and this is the same message which I saw, and it makes sense that I haven't provided any XML file, or I haven't provided any class, I haven't provided any method. So this is what it printed. Okay, so that means using from that main method, it came here and it threw me this exception. Okay, let's go ahead. I hope it makes sense. I made sense. And let's go next. Now this is taking the way it has taken the test class suite. Similarly, it has taken the groups. If you have any group in your class file, I'm sorry, in your suite file, and if you have mentioned excluded groups, then it will take that into consideration as well. It is taking them, and now it is validating again. If these things are empty, then it is going to give you this message. Groups options should be used with test class option. Okay, so we have not used groups, so we are not going to get this error message. But in case you are using it, but you haven't, if you have used, you're using the hyphen groups, and you haven't passed the group name, then you're going to get this. Okay. Similarly, if you have missed any of this, these things are validated, and this is going to give you some message. Okay, so we are done with command line parameters. So let me go to the the method where we were. Okay, now this is something which I learned right now, because I never knew that this is possible. So while debugging, if you go to the declaration of that method, and if you want to come back to the last method where you were, what you have to do is you have to click Alt plus the left arrow key. Alt plus left arrow key that will take you back to the method where you were. So we are back to the private main, and this is where we left, and we are back to the same method. Now let's go to the next line, which is result.configure. Now this is very important. Now it has been validated. All the values are validated. You have the right values in the in the file, and then you're going to configure them. Now let's see what is happening in configure. So I have opened a declaration. It is a part of TestNG class as well. So, and if you see the description of this method, configure TestNG instance based on the command line parameters. So our parameters were meter was testng.xml file. Okay. So now we have taken all those values. Okay, we have parsed them, we have validated them, and we are now going to use those values to configure our test. Okay. So let's see what is happening. So this is about the verbose. We all know that if we specify the verbose, it tells you you are telling the system the level of logging that you need. Okay, so this is what. So generally, what is happening in configure is it is reading all those values from the suite file, and it is setting those values. Okay, in the system. So it has set if we have verbose, which is not null. If that means we have something which which is nothing but which is not null, then we are going to take that values, and we are setting the verbose level for this execution. Similarly, if we have inject factory, if we have used inject factory, then we are going to set that as well. If we have thread pool factory, then we are setting execute factory class. Okay, and similarly we are setting, if we have output directory, then we are going to set output directory as well. And then if then the next is the test classes. If the test classes is not null, then we are going to take all those test classes and add to our execution. So if you see here, for each of the string classes that we have, we are going to add those classes. Okay, add those classes in the classes, and these classes are nothing but the list of type class. Okay, and then we are setting the test class. So after reading the classes, we are setting those classes. Okay, and then again we are setting the output directory. Now I don't know, I have seen in the other version of TestNG as well. Okay, this is the latest version of TestNG I'm using. I saw this two line there as well, and they are setting from I don't know from how many versions, but I'll just check with TestNG guys if this makes sense, because I don't see any change for this. Because if you see the output directory, we are setting the output directory here, and we are setting the output directory here as well. So maybe I'll just I'll check with them. I'll just raise it and see if they have any answer to this question, or maybe I'm missing something. Or if you have any answer to this, just please type it in the description. I'm sorry, type it in the comment box and help me know it. Okay, so we are set. We have been set. We are set with verbose. We have set this. We have set classes, and we have set the output directory. And we are setting the test name as well. And we are, if we have listener, then we are setting, different listeners. We are setting groups. We are configuring. Setting means, we are actually configuring. We are taking the values and we are using those. We are going to use those values. Okay, set test jar, XML, JUnit mix, skipped fail invocation counts if we have any, and then these are the things. And then we have, if if it is on parallel mode, then set parallel, all those things. So you may have, you might be familiar with all these values, that all these strings, you must have seen them in the TestNG suite file. Okay, so these are all the setting things. Okay, so I believe we are good on the configure, understanding of configure. Yeah, so we were here. So the configuration is done, and right after that, we were successful with this. We did not encounter any error. If there is any error, then we are going to go into catch, and we are going to exit out with the message. Okay, now the parsing is done. Parsing and setting, everything is done. Now it's time to execute our test. So we are going to run it. And this small piece, this one liner that you see in try, this is actually doing the wonders. So let's see what it does. Let's go to the declaration of run, which is again a part of the class, TestNG class. So if we see here, okay, the description says run TestNG, okay, the main. So it will initialize everything. It will do the sanity check, and if we have listener, then it will start the listener, execute the listener, and something on the listener side again, and then we are running the suite. Okay, running the suite, taking it into runs suite runners in the list. So let's see what suite run suite is doing. So when we highlight this, this is being highlighted. So let's see. Okay, now let's just read this, and it will make sense. So run the test suite. This method can be overridden by subclass, for example. Okay, so this is only running the suite. So if we go to this run suite locally and see if we can understand it. Okay, so they are too much of overloaded method. So I'm not going to. Okay, see if it is saying if sorry, it is checking if my suite is empty. Then we are going to get this error. So in case you're running any file without any suite, then you're going to get this error. Okay, and then what it is doing is usage. Okay, and returning this empty list. So and then what? Yeah, it's a long one. And then it is taking that it is creating an object of suite runner map. Okay, verbose xml suite, create suite runner. It is creating the suite runner, and then for each of the for each of the suite that we have in this m suites that we created here, where is it? Yep, this was initialized in one of the method, I remember. Okay, so each of the suite, okay, so consider that we have multiple suite. So for each of the suite, what is being done is populate suite graph. Okay, and this is they are doing something based on the thread pool and rest of the stuff. And then once the execution is done, and they are going to the executor pool executor will be shut down. Okay, and what it is returning is new array suite runner map values. Okay, so that's all about the run suite locally. Let me go back. Okay, so this is done. Run suite. Once we are done with running the suite, we are back to run. Okay, so this is done. Suite runner. Okay, and then we are setting up the time, probably system current. Okay, probably we are taking this system time, and then it says that if the suite runner is not null, then we are going to report generate report as well, because you know that TestNG provide an HTML report, basic HTML report for all the execution that that it has done. Okay, so it will generate the report. Okay, and then it will exit with a code. Okay, if it has any, we generally in listener we have on start on end sort of so forth things, so everything will be done. So I remember we did start it with run execute listener, and we end with run execute listeners as well. Okay, so we are done with that, and after that it will exit. So we have successfully run the code, run the TestNG XML file, all the tests that we have in this suite. We are done with that. We are done running them. And then let's go back. Okay. Okay. So we have successfully executed the test and we have generated the report as well. Okay. And if there is any error, that error will be caught here and it will be printed. Okay. So that is it. And then it will return the result. So this result, the variable result variable is holding everything that we did so far, and it is going to return. Okay, this is the return type, that is the TestNG, and this is what this will have everything that we did. So this one line of code is doing everything that we see on our day-to-day activity, day-to-day execution with TestNG. Okay, and right after this we exit from the system. That means my test is completed. You will be provided with the report, be it an exception, or you have the HTML report, or maybe it will print in the and as well it will print in the console. So this is pretty much about how TestNG work, and this is what I learned, and I wanted to share you because this is my motto of this. This is the motto of this channel, that I learn and I share it with my listener, I would say, with whoever wants to understand or whoever wants to listen to me. So I learn and I share using my channel. So I hope I have explained you everything. I did not go much into detail, but because it could have overshot the time. So I have kept it on a very high level, but I understand that I hope that I have made sense. And let's see, if you have any question, let me know. I'll just go and dig more into what you are looking for and see if I can answer you. Or maybe I can, make a video on that. So thank you very much. And the next video would be, I will try to show you how we can create this file or this content programmatically. Okay, because if you're using Eclipse, you have to always go and right click, go to where is it, sorry, where is it, TestNG. Okay, sorry, go to TestNG and convert this project to TestNG. That will create this XML file, and when you are running your suite, this is needed. Okay, you need this file. But if you think that you have to, the moment you make the changes and you want to, you have, the project is a part of CI/CD pipeline, you're not going to do that programmatically. You're not going to do that manually. There should be a program which should run, which should create a TestNG XML file programmatically based on the values that you provide. Okay, it may happen that for some scenario you don't want to run all the classes that you have in your project. Okay, you may say, for example, I have 10 classes, out of which I want to run only 5 of those classes. Okay, and next time I want to run 6 classes. Next time I want to run 7 classes with few of the methods excluded. So all these are, we get to see all those information in this XML file. Okay, and now if you see that, if you see the scenario that I am explaining you right now, the scenarios are dynamic. They are not they are not static. So when you have such scenario, then you need to create TestNG XML on the runtime, on the fly. So that is when you will think of creating this file programmatically, and TestNG has given support for that as well. Okay, they have the, if you go to the site, they have a documentation. I will show you when I create that video, and you can refer that and you can create the file programmatically. Okay, and then I will show you how that the programmatically created TestNG file can be used in the project to execute the test that we need. Okay, I hope I have covered everything, and let's catch up in the next video. If you like this video and the session, hit like and hit subscribe for the next video. And if you don't like it, you give me your comment in the comment box, in the comment section. I will take it as a, you know, as a point to improve, so that my channel grows, and we learn together. Okay. Thank you for now. Have a good time. Bye.